Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to an unexpected episode of Stay Tuned Live. And as always, I'm your host, Phil Machi. Tonight, we've got a little bit of an international flair going. This is something I haven't had too much opportunity to do, but I'm very excited to do this. So tonight, we'll be talking with one of the co-founders of a company called Moti. And this is a really interesting company. They were founded back in last year, 2020, during the height of the pandemic, if you can believe that. CEO of the company, Chau, and Ray Yang, they both established Moti to help people from all walks of life to live in a culture of a deeper sense of self and a more profound sense of meaning and purpose. And one of the ways that Moti is seeking to do that is through this new animated series of shorts that are being released on YouTube called Koan. It's a really interesting series. There are currently 3 episodes that I'm aware of already available that you can watch for free. And believe it or not, I have I have the CEO here to discuss Moti and to discuss Koan, and he's all the way here from China. The time difference is dramatic. He was kind enough to come here at like 6:30 a.m. his time. So I'm very excited and to talk with him and to also let you guys know if you want to submit questions throughout this episode, this live stream, please feel free to do so. And if there is time, I will make sure we get to as many questions as possible. So thank you for watching, by the way, on YouTube, on Twitch, and right here on Facebook Live. Thank you for watching. Here we go. Without further ado, Chau.
Thanks for having me, Phil.
Hey.
6:30 is no problem because we always, with being international, we always kind of connect with people during those times, and especially from people in the US. So absolutely not a problem, and thank you for inviting me.
Well, it's a pleasure. I usually get up around 6:30 to feed my cats, and then directly go back to sleep afterwards. So,
right.
So
yeah,
I gotta before we get started into the animation stuff, I kind of have to ask you, what possessed you to create a company during the year 2020? Because that seems like, I mean, I'm sure there was a lot of downtime, but it also seems like a really uneasy time to start something so big.
it is. I would say so, but I think whenever there are situations like that, that's when the greatest opportunity emerges, right? And I think when we decided to do this, it was actually before the pandemic. So when it was everything that ever happened to me in my life when I started off, as an entrepreneur in high school. And then I went through my journey of ups and downs, successes and failures, mostly failures. And the successes gave me enough capital to have those failures, which I was very grateful for. And then I slowly kind of, when I went through the failures, it was mostly of my own doing. And it was mostly because I was doing things that I wouldn't otherwise do if there was no opportunity in it. So I would go into, industries like esports. I would go into industries like, e-commerce. But then when I really step back and think about it, I was looking at, all of my peers and all of the people that were my competitors, my partners, and they were all immersed in that space, and had that, I would just say, enthusiasm that is undeniable. And when I saw them, I felt like, damn, what am I doing here? I felt like a lot of it was because I had this. I decided not to go to university when my, Asian parents really wanted me to, and my father is a very successful business person in his own right, and I always felt like I was living in his shadow. I had this chip on my shoulders that I really wanted to prove, not to everybody, but just to him. I realized it was just to him that I could do something, that I could accomplish something, that I am made of something, and that weighed heavy on me. But that also gave me a lot of energy and motivation to push through and experience those failures. And
That's awesome. So where other people would have seen maybe stumbling blocks, you were seeing opportunities.
yeah, well, I mean, it's I found something that was really, when I ended my last business in esports. I wasn't able to raise a Series B round, and it was at the time was heartbreaking. But I I look back at it, and the reason I wasn't able to sustain and I wasn't able to raise that round is because for me, I wasn't a gamer, and people around me, they were gamers. They sleep esports. They wake up. They want to play games. It wasn't me. And when I failed in that business, when I stopped that business, I was finding ways, finding my purpose, and I realized that the I would say maybe the hardest thing to do is, than making a lot of money or creating a very successful business, is to actually share your story. And when I say share the story, is to share the vulnerabilities within your stories as well. Everything that makes up who you are, all your shortcomings and all your strengths that makes up who you are. And if you're able to share that authentically, actually makes a lot of difference to people around you, and it enable people to feel like they could be themselves around you.
So this is, as I understand it, not your first company. Moti is like your fourth or fifth or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. Something I'm losing count, but something like that for sure. And
But hold on, let's just clarify for the audience watching. How old are you?
I'm 20. I'm 25. I'm turning 25 in 2 days.
So 20. Oh, happy birthday! 25 in a couple days, and this is your fourth or fifth company. That's, I mean, really, what is driving you to continue making different organizations?
I think right now is this, right. So I went into. I think my motivation from the beginning was a very authentic one. That I really just loved the fact that I could create. It was really an enlightening moment for me because I felt like, much like everybody feels, which is, oh, we live in a concrete box called reality, and our job is to live within it and to try and basically just, not make too many mistakes and not go off the rail too much and be respected within that boundary. And then when I started my business, it was like, wait a minute, all of these things that we call reality is not as I would say, as concrete as they are. That you could change it, and that is built by people around you. And then that was an enlightening moment for me, and it was really authentic. But then when I decided not to go to university, it became a bit of a I would say, trying to prove myself to my father kind of thing. And I went into many different businesses And that's when I had a lot of failures. Is because I was very impatient, and it wasn't something that is innate to who I am. It was about some sort of external goal that I'm trying to achieve based on, and the thing that I'm doing, I'm not paying it enough respect because I'm just using it as an instrument to achieve what I want to achieve externally. And then when I stopped that, I had time where I have to discover myself. And that's when I decided to start Moti, because I felt like, during that time when I was off, I had the time to maybe go back to my family and say to my father, listen, I mean, I'm not all this, that maybe I haven't, like my literal words would be, like, I haven't eaten enough shit yet. You have eaten a lot of shit. You have endured a lot of hardship, but I haven't earned the stripes yet. I need to still go out there and make the mistakes that I'm gonna make. It's no way to avoid it, right? And I'm so thankful for him to that, and my whole entire family, for giving me that opportunity to go out and learn, and make mistakes and fall, right? And I have the freedom and to do that. I'm very grateful for that. And
Well,
yeah,
that's
and then
fantastic. That's fantastic. I want to, because I don't want to run out of time. I want us to get to the animation. So
for sure.
one of the divisions of Moti is koan. It's like
Mhm.
it's like an extension, or it's a vessel for you
Mhm.
to channel storytelling and creativity.
Yes.
And three shorts out right now, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And then you've got another one coming next month.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay. Well, I gotta say, one of the things I really appreciate about the shorts, and I'm gonna pull one of them up on screen right now. But one of the things I really appreciate of them is just how they are kind of unassuming. And what I mean by that is they come off in a certain level of innocence.
Mhm.
Uh, so with each one I watched, I was like, okay, I'm not sure if I'm the target audience for this. And then I kind of realized, wait a minute, the target audience might be anybody. And what's great about this series is you ask really heavy questions and then you don't provide any answers. You just kind of present the questions and you let the audience sort of sit there and wrestle with it.
Mhm.
Was that the mission you had going forward with it?
The mission is to explore existential questions. That's the question. That's the objective. Because I felt like what I really wanted to do. Right, this is what I really wanted to do. Is, I think, a lot of times what we call reality, right, the concrete reality that is around us, we really accept it, and we have assumptions about it that is not really founded based on our own reasoning and our own experience. It was mostly because we accept things for how it is. Oh, it has to be like this. It cannot be challenged. There are many things that cannot be challenged. The concept of good, the concept of bad, heaven and hell, maybe reincarnation, maybe a lot of the things that are very, very sensitive topics that people don't dare or wouldn't actually take the effort to look into and challenge them. Now, our job is to actually take the most unchallengeable notion, the most unchallengeable beliefs, and say, wait a minute, maybe even the most fundamental concepts could be challenged, then maybe I have to rethink a lot of the things that I have in my life. Maybe I have to go back and revisit and look at it in my own perspective and to be able to establish my own beliefs. That's the whole entire goal of this series. And so every single one of these episodes that you're seeing right now is not based on a story. It didn't come from a story, actually. It came from I would say, a philosophical theory that I had. So I was like, you know what? That's a view, or a perspective of the world that I want to communicate. Could it be like that? Something like
So you call yourself a storyteller, but it sounds like you're more of a philosopher.
that. Well, I mean, the way that I see it is that I I would say that the uniqueness of this company is that I want to bring a lot of this ancient wisdom. I would say ancient wisdom, but I would say universal wisdom as well. Is that we think about these things in a very fundamental way, as a theory of what the world could be, as a theory of what reality could be, and then we combine it with different technologies like animation, and then we're trying to just embrace the diversity that offers, and that, oh, I didn't know it could be like I thought philosophy needs to be in a university faculty where it has to be boring, or it has to be very intimidating, or it has to be very exclusive, only accessible by scholars and kings. Well, wait a minute, why can't it be accessible also in a 2-minute shorts that every single person can watch on YouTube?
Yeah, it's kind of amazing how heavy you get in such a short period of time. That was one of the things I thought was interesting. Was I went to go watch the shorts, and I was just not anticipating uh, the complexity of the question. And I can't stress it enough to people. I made the, we all make a kind of a prejudgment when you start to consume media. You sort of see something, and then in your mind you tell yourself you know where it's going to go. And I found myself thinking I knew where it was going, and then the whole thing got turned on its ear, which is pretty great. And are you planning on continuing that, or are you thinking about getting into more narrative storytelling?
This is, I would say this. This is actually, I call this the 3 episodes that you see in the 2 episodes that we're going to release this month. We call this the pilot season, the season 0, actually, what I call it. So this is 3 to 4 minute shorts, right? 3 to 4 minutes. We have 5 episodes. But actually, what we're planning right now, and what we're actually in the process of doing, is that we're connecting with the best animators in the world. And we are actually going to invite them to actually come on board to create a full-on season 1, which is going to be 8 episodes, 10 minutes each. And then we're going to also invite celebrities and different artists to be able to contribute meaningful parts. And then we're actually going to run a crowdfunding campaign for season 1, which is going to be a much higher production than season 0 that you're looking at right now. And obviously, we are also talking to distribution and also, networks, and also, streaming platforms, and to be able to co-produce this series in a much bigger scale than what we got right now. But for me, season 0 is an experimentation of different artistic forms, of how we can take concepts like this into forms that most people wouldn't expect, to really be able to heighten people's perspective on this type of issues that actually have, I would say, very profound ramification on the rest of their lives.
Yeah, I like the experimentation of the one that we have on screen right now called "What's There." That was the first episode, and I really appreciated the way you guys handled that. I'm not gonna say it's like derivative of Fantasia, but that's the thing that comes to mind when I think of experimental animation is Fantasia. And so this kind of evoked a little bit of that, where you were trying to find ways to, take an image and play with it and see what happens on screen, and, change the perception of it. And you mentioned ancient wisdom earlier. I understand that the title of the series, koan, is from an ancient word, or is it from Buddhism?
It's from Zen Buddhism. And if you look at, I think sometimes, when I look at the Chinese, there's an interesting fact. When I look at the Chinese version of these type of books and things like that, it's unreadable. It's so difficult to read. English is actually more accessible when it's translated to English. And I would say the definition of koan, if you look at Google, is really interesting. It's basically a paradoxical anecdote or riddle used in Zen Buddhism to illustrate the fallacy of logical reasoning and to provoke enlightenment.
Okay.
Right.
So the embodiment of what you're doing is kind of contained in that one word of the series.
I think so. I think it's about, for me, it's about using animation to challenge conventional wisdom. That's what I'm. That's what I think it is, because I think we all often have so many things that are circumstantial, right?
Mhm.
In this situation you should do that. In that situation you do that. But wait, what about in all situations? What about, for things like that? How do we think about these kind of things? And I think the more fundamental. I always like to use the word fundamental, because I think I think a lot of us usually kind of think about life in very fragmented ways, and we think about, um, this is the situation and that is the situation. But then, actually, if you step back, well, this is just like that, and this is, and that is just like this, and then you can categorize things, and then when you step back enough, you realize that everything is just one thing called reality, right? So it depends on kind of your perspective. So I think a lot of the content, they try to pull people in, right? Get into this universe, get into this. I actually want to try to kick people back. If you imagine, if you're sitting on this seat, I'm just gonna pull your chair back. Wait a minute. The world is actually much bigger than that. Because I think a lot of the problems that we have in our lives never get solved. And we're okay with it, because it's just because problems are not real. We paint it as a problem, right? When we see the bigger picture, we just think of those things that were never solved, by the way, as irrelevant. Who cares? I was just being a little too stubborn about that thing, but that thing actually didn't matter. Because now when you're a baby, obviously you cry all the time, right? Like, oh, cry about this. Oh, you wouldn't give me that. But if you have the same situation now as an adult, with the capacity that you have, understanding the emotional capacity of not just reacting the way that that the situation or circumstances dictate, but then you look at that, it's like, okay, well, let me have it. It's okay. It's fine. And that's not the situation. Never changed. Didn't change at all. It's that you changed,
Right.
and you became just more I would say courteous, or just have see the bigger picture. So I think that's the point.
So when season 1 comes out, aside from the increased quality of animation, are we going to see more of the same kind of existential questions, or is it going to be more like, narrative storytelling, sequential art kind of thing?
Narrative storytelling is also based on exploring. I'm going to give you a preview. Okay, it's just a short
Oh,
one.
okay. All right.
It's called episode 1 of season 1. Okay.
Okay.
It's called The Wing. It's called The
The,
Wing.
the wing?
The Wing. Okay. Is what you said is about, storytelling. That is exactly what it is, right?
Okay.
So The Wing, what is that story about? I give you a short summary, right? Not to give away too much, but I'll give you a short summary.
Okay.
It's about in the beginning, everyone were in heaven. And in heaven, there is this ongoing feast, ongoing celebration with infinite food from all around the world. Not just human civilization, but all of the alien civilization, the most amazing, the most tasteful food that ever existed is in this feast.
I
It's
skipped
amazing.
lunch today, so this is definitely not helping. But go ahead.
Okay, well, you know what? It's gonna change. It's gonna change. So you might be happy about that. So
Okay.
so what happens is people are happy, right? You got amazing food, right? Who wouldn't be happy, right? But then
Sure.
over time, people start the gestures and the facial expressions of people start showing that people are a little bit jaded now. They're a little bit critical. They're starting to be a little dissatisfied with the food. Okay, and then over time, inconceivably, complaining, frustration, dissatisfactions find their way into heaven and start spiraling out of control. Okay. And then this one day, this man, all right, he go over to this Mexican section. He picks up this buffalo wing, okay, and he was like, he looks at it and he looks at it. He's like, okay, I'm gonna eat this wing. He takes a bite on it. He was so disgusted at that wing. What's supposed to be the best wing in the world? He was so disgusted by it. He spit it out really, really hard, and it broke the floor of heaven and fell into hell. Okay.
Okay.
Now in hell, this henchman was walking by, and then suddenly heard a huge noise from the back. It's like, what the hell is going on? Look back, he found something very, very strange on the ground.
It's very appropriate that you say what the hell is going on when you're in hell. I think that's the right way to phrase that. Yeah.
Yeah, pun intended. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
And then he looks back, it's like, what is this thing? I've never seen something like this before. Maybe I have, but I've forgotten it. It was so long, but I don't know what this is. He looks at it. He smells funny. Oh, there's some. It's a half-eaten chicken wing, right? And for some unexplainable reason, despite not recognizing what it is, she put it in her mouth. And in that single moment, it was the taste of enlightenment. It was a transcendent experience for her. It opens a world of possibilities and expands her consciousness.
It's like the ultimate 5-second rule.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And we're gonna put that in, yeah. And then she was so struck by this. She was shocked. She held that bone and put it in her pocket, and she went back to her quarters. And then when she was back to the quarters, the people that was with her was like, what's happening to you? Why you so shocked? Why your face is so pale? What's going on? She was like, something happened today. And then someone's like, no, nothing ever happens here. Like, why would you say something happened today? What happened? Look at this. What is this? What is this? She was shocked, right? And then the people, no one recognized what that bone was, except for one little girl who just got into hell and was screaming, "That's the chicken wing! That's the wing! That's the wing!" And then she starts spreading that news like a prophet. And then so many people join her and start worshiping this half-eaten wing. And then they start building churches and temples about this chicken wing. As they start worshiping the wing, right? The wing, the one true wing, the one true wing. So we start having this religion, and then we go back to heaven. And then God was we show that God is very impatient right now, because everyone, basically what happened is everyone is being really pissed off right now about the best food in the world. And God looked at his watch, right? There's a clock. He looks at the clock, and he actually somehow expected this, because actually what happened was every 127 years, he would actually discard every single person in heaven because they can no longer be satisfied. Like, basically, the people can't be satisfied anymore. They're just going to complain. Whatever you give them, they're just going to keep complaining, right? They're never going to be happy. So just let them go, right? Just they can go now. And now he basically every 127, he goes down to hell. He knocks on the door and say, you know what? Who wants amazing food? And then everyone would say, I want to come. I want to come. He take a bunch of people comes to heaven. They love the food. They start worshiping him as the God, right? Oh, he's the guy with infinite food. Well, I must worship him because he's God, okay? But now he goes to his 127 years. He goes to hell. He knocks on the door. Nobody answers. He knocks on the door. Nobody answers. And then he said, but I'm the one true God. But I guess you're not the one true wing.
Wow. That was, I mean, first of all, that was a very energetic telling of that story, which is thank you for that. Second of all, the thing that kept coming to mind when I was hearing you describe this was, I know there is a pretty big difference in storytelling styles, Eastern storytelling, Western storytelling. There is a very big difference. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, you can watch Neon Genesis Evangelion. So in approaching something like this that is going to be hopefully appreciated on a global scale, are you taking that into consideration, or are you saying we're just going to do things from this particular point of view, and however people interpret it is totally fine, and maybe it won't land with them because it's such a different way of thinking.
I think let's say this, right? You are watching the animation that we create, but you know what we want to watch? We want to watch your reaction when you're watching the animation that we create. That's the
Okay.
show. That's the show. So I because I've already created this, right? So I'm not watching this anymore, right? I've watched it many times, but I want to watch how people watch the
Uh-huh.
animation. And that's the show. I tell the whole team, hey, enjoy the show. You
Yeah.
know, that's the show. So for me, I want to mention one thing, right? I don't want to one thing that I think is important. I just want to share. I think you got obviously animation people from the animation industry. The one thing I kind of want to, I've talked to a lot of people from animation, and I do believe that our creative process is a little different, and I want to share a little bit of that.
Please.
When we created What's There, let's say for example, and basically that's how all episodes are created right now. We start from a very fundamental concept, right? So what we did was with What's There, you see the black and white, right?
Yeah.
Now, that's that's great. That's great. So how did we do that? Like what happened? How did we come up with that? I came up with a theory, and I would say that is one of my better days. I would say, as a thinker, something just clicked, and I figured something out. And something that I figured out was, if I give you, just imagine this, if I give you a white piece of paper, like this, like a white piece of paper.
It's my nightmare scenario, because it's like you have every possible thing you could draw, and therefore you don't draw anything.
Okay, all right. So if I give you a white piece of paper, it's completely white. What's on that piece of paper right now?
The color white.
Sure, but then on that color white, what is on there right now?
Nothing, unless you already started drawing ahead of time.
Okay, let's say it's nothing, right?
Yeah.
We can all agree on that. So let's say I give you a black piece of paper. It's completely black.
Okay.
Right? What is on that piece of paper right now?
The color black.
But what is on that?
I mean, again, probably nothing unless you start drawing onto it.
That's great. That's great. So white, blank piece of paper, nothing. Black, blank piece of paper, nothing. Great. Now, if I give you a white piece of paper, I give you a black pen. You start drawing something on it. You draw a circle, there's a circle. You draw a triangle, there's a triangle. You draw a square, that's a square. So, okay, that's interesting. Now, let's say if I ask you a very simple fundamental question, which is, what is existence? You would maybe answer it like this.
I like how you said that was a simple question.
Yeah. Well, you might answer it like this. Well, we started off from nothing, and then we drew something on it, and the something that we drew is the thing that exists. And that's how most people understand existence as well, right? Is that, well, we started off from nothing, and then something happened, and then the something that happened is the thing that exists right now.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Now, that's very interesting, but let's imagine that we have this drawing square contest, and you have a square and I have a square, but my square is bigger than your square, right? So you might say, well, I'm not happy with that. I'm going to draw a bigger square, bigger than Pac. And then you have a big, big square. But then you're still not happy with that. So you're going to draw an even bigger square. Bigger, 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 infinitely bigger. Until you have turned a completely white piece of paper into a completely black piece of paper. Okay? Now, at that point, what's there? Is it nothing? Because you said the black piece of paper, well, there's nothing on it, right? Or is it everything? Because, well, every single possible inch of space, every possible thing that can be filled is now completely filled.
Absolutely.
Is that everything? Or could I make that very simple logical jump to say that nothing is everything? That fundamental nothingness is everythingness. And what we call existence is not black, is not white, it's the contrast between opposition, things that we deem opposites. For example, like up and down, left or right, forward, backwards,
So it's all
um,
relative, is what you're saying.
yin and yang, right? It's
Yeah.
the contrast between them that creates the reality that we see. It's the contrast between them that actually creates the dimensions where our existence lie, right? And without one, you can't have the other. You simply can't, because the contrast is what makes reality possible. So I think right now in for example in the U.S. obviously, and obviously there's a lot of divide, you got the two parties, you got the racial divide, you got the gender equality fight, and I understand obviously right now our response and everything, but with this animation, for example, people take it in different ways and interpret it for differently. And one of the things that I see is that perhaps instead of focusing on equating the differences between us and saying that we are equal, maybe we should maybe focus a little bit on celebrating the diversity that makes us exist necessarily. Because if I was the same as Phil, if I'm just Phil, why does the world need two of them?
I can assure you the world does not need two Phils. That's a very, very accurate question.
So it's the fact that we are different that makes our interaction, our relationship possible. It's the fact that we are different and everything else is different from anything else in the world that makes life interesting. That you can experience euphoria, but you can also experience depression. And the range is big. And that we can experience is the greatest game in the world. When you have a when you have a play a video game, sometimes when you're a little boy or little girl, you play some what I call dumb video games where it's just like, oh, it's just like that, huh? It's just jumping up and down. That's it? You think it's fun? Really? Like, oh, I'm smarter than that, right? And then if you evolve that continuously to a point where, oh, it's just happiness all the time, well, that's just dumb, isn't it? Like that's not very fun. No, if you just win all the time, what's the point? So you level up until you get to what you're doing right now, which is life, and anything could happen, and you get to play in that game.
And that's why I don't play those games, is because when you get to the point where you're playing in an open world game, I always sit there and go, well, if I want an open world, I could just turn off the game and go live in the open world that I already live in.
Yeah, it's true.
uh,
Yeah.
I gotta let you know because we're running out of time, but I wanted to see if I could get to a couple of the people.
Yeah, let's do 10 more minutes.
People are giving some nice, interesting feedback in the comments, and I'm going to throw this on screen here. We have Manuel Martinez asking, does Chau follow entrepreneur coach David Meltzer, or does he follow anyone in particular for guidance online?
That's interesting. I follow Coach David Meltzer. I think I follow many different artists and inspiration. I would say I'm gonna give you three people that I follow. It's not really recent people, but I think one of the more recent ones is I love Gary Vee. I think Gary Vee does a lot of like he's very authentic, and he goes straight up, and he's very hardcore. So I like him for that. But Alan Watts is definitely one of my all-time idols. And the way that he articulates his message in a way that is easily understood in the West is very admirable. One of the greatest quotes that he said was, "The purpose of living is just to be alive." And that was so fundamental to me because I felt like, do we exist to solve problems, to leave a legacy, or do we just exist so then we can experience life? And that was something that I felt like was very, very it kind of puts you in the moment. And Alan Watts, there's a lot of wisdom in that. Obviously, I follow him a lot. Like in terms, not obviously he's dead, but I listen back to his lectures. And I've listened to about, I would say maybe 30, 40 hours, 50 hours of his lectures on different platforms. So it's really insightful.
That's an excellent answer. Thank you for that. And as a follow up, Manuel was saying that he's heard much about Gary Vee and he loves Alan Watts. So sounds like you made some good suggestions there. So we can expect the next episodes of Koan season 0 to be what you said this month, 2 of them.
End of this month, we're gonna release an episode called Reincarnation.
Oh man,
And
you're going right for it.
we're going right for it. And you know what? People was like, "Do you want to call that reincarnation? Would that piss some people off?" I was like, "No, we're calling it reincarnation because it is reincarnation. Maybe it's different. Maybe it's different. It's a different take on it, but we'll see how people react, and that's the show."
Okay, and then one more after that, right? You're doing another one, and then that's it for season 0.
Another one is called meditation, right?
Okay.
So with every single episode, we're not just gonna have the animation. We're also gonna have the music, the poems, so everybody can stay tuned at Moti Media to check our stuff out. And yeah, and that would be season 0, and then we will be launching our crowdfunding campaign next year.
So how do people find you? Just by going and searching Koan, or what's the best way for people to find out about all this stuff?
They can go and look for Moti Media.
Moti Media, Moti, right?
MOTI Media, and then they can go and find our stuff everywhere on the web. They can also look for Koan, obviously. And yeah, I mean, we other than animation, we have also produced a lot of music, so you guys can check us out. Moti on Spotify as well. So
okay,
yeah, it's you can listen to it. I think it's really good. I really like the songs. So yeah, that I think that's it. Yeah.
Peck, you are a fascinating and very deep thinking individual, and I genuinely appreciate your time. And I really do wish you all the best with Moti. I hope that this company is kind of the one you stick with for as long as you want to stick with it, I guess.
Rest of my life. Rest of my life.
Rest of your life. Okay, rest of your life. We'll put that out there. Looking forward to the rest of Koan season 0, and of course season 1. Hopefully next year.
Next year. I mean, it takes time to package. It takes time to create. I think the crowd would start somewhere around March. Is based on our timeline. So I also basically in the future, and I hope that we stay in touch personally as well, because I'm sure that's so much for me to learn from you. I think you're a veteran in this space, right? And
thank you.
Yeah, and that's something that I definitely and the passion that it takes for you to create a podcast and be able to talk about with different people. I think that's really, really great, because now that you actually take a lot of knowledge from everybody, and then you're able to organize it in your head and be able to use it and be able to share it with so many people. So kudos to you for doing that.
What was that video game from like 10 years ago where you gathered a ball of junk and you just kept rolling the ball and it kept collecting things that stuck to it and it got bigger and bigger? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I forget the name of that game. That's what you just described me as. I'm just things are just like sticking to me from every angle, and I'm just like, anyway. I was
got to be fanatic for that. You need to be fanatic for that, and you definitely are. So thank you so much for having me today, and I hope good luck with everything in the future. I hope to stay in touch, give you and send you more information going forward as well.
My pleasure. I know you're a busy man, so I'm going to let you get back to it. And thanks again for being here, and stay tuned live.
Thank you. Stay tuned, everybody.
Hey guys, thanks once again for watching. There's actually going to be another episode of this show coming up on Friday of this week. Sort of came in unexpectedly, but Marlene Sharp is going to be with me. She's formerly from Level 5 Entertainment, which is a video game company, and she also did some work with the Sonic the Hedgehog series. We're going to be talking about that on Friday. Just keep those eyes peeled so we can get the time set up right. I'm still working on that, but it's going to be Friday. So in the meantime, if you want more, stay tuned. If you're like, I don't want to wait till Friday, Phil, well, you're in luck. You can listen to Stay Tuned, the first 3 seasons, on any of your available podcast apps. You can go to YouTube, just search me on YouTube, and there's a whole bunch of Stay Tuned content there. And then I have to remind you that on September 5th, that's going to be the launch of my very first documentary feature film underneath the Stay Tuned brand, and that is Stay Tuned Presents Batman the Animated Series. I'm super excited about it. It's been a really incredible process over the last 7 months creating this documentary. I'm so excited to share it with you guys. You can watch the trailer right now, right on YouTube. Just head over to my YouTube channel and you'll be able to find the 1-minute trailer there. So thanks so much for watching, and until next time, keep those eyeballs peeled, those ears open, and be sure to stay tuned.